thinking I'm going to keep working on my Constitution one section at a time approach that I'm doing lately, uh, and also just sharing random thoughts. But I want to add another little series where I go through the 7 P's of the Constitution, as I've come to call them, which is the people's consent, the proper purposes for government, the positions of power, the powers enumerated, the procedures to exercise those powers, the promises guaranteed, and the powers prohibited. And so starting off real quick here, I want to talk about people's consent. Hello, this is Inga. Say hi, Inga. Okay. My first milk goat I ever got. Anyhow, and then this is Mama, my first Angora goat I ever got. Say hi, Mama. So, anyhow, we the people formed, established, ordained the Constitution according to the preamble, and then we ratified it according to Article 7. So, and Article 7 lays out the parameters for consent of the governed, right? This is my livestock guardian in training. She's doing great, man. She's doing so good. So anyhow, so it had to be 9 states out of 13 had to accept it, and it was considered ratified. And then we also gave our consent to a way of changing the Constitution, amending it, changing its meaning, changing its application, anything like that. Any modification to the way we use the Constitution and see it has to go through the Article 5 process. That's what we said. If it's changing the Constitution, it has to go through the Article 5 process. Then we gave our consent to a legislature, and we originally gave our consent via the state legislatures picking the senators, and we gave our consent to popular election at the state level for the state representatives. And then those guys were allowed to represent us in Congress. They were given a special set of enumerated powers and procedures. We said we give our consent to you exercising these enumerated powers using these procedures. And then we gave our consent to a president. We gave our consent to him by way of what's called an electoral college. And we said he's allowed to be the president if he goes through this electoral college process. And we gave him then the mandate to take care that the laws were faithfully executed. It wasn't optional. He says we shall take care that the laws are faithfully executed. And we also told him, hey, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Every law has to be pursuant to the Constitution. Every treaty has to be pursuant to the Constitution. You can't be exercising powers we didn't grant you. You can't be exercising stuff outside of procedures we didn't grant you. We told you the procedures. You have to follow them. That's our consent. And then we gave consent we gave him the mandate that he was allowed to be the president as long as he followed through on promises guaranteed. There were certain things we said that there aren't optional. They shall guarantee this. They shall guarantee that. And we gave our consent to him remaining to be the president as long as he followed through on those requirements. To not follow through on those requirements would be a violation of our consent. Then we gave our consent to a judicial branch with more than just the Supreme Court. We give our consent to Congress filling out that judicial branch and setting up certain procedures for them and what have you. And we gave our consent to the judicial branch dealing with cases, not dealing with anything that's in Article 6, Clause 2, except for to enforce it, but not to create it. That's not the definition of the judicial branch, never has been the definition of the judicial branch. We gave our consent only to them resolving cases, and that's it. And their precedent does not change the meaning of the Constitution. As a matter of fact, we denied our consent to a Constitution based on precedent, which is what we had with the British system prior to that. We gave our consent to a written Constitution. There is no such thing as changing the Constitution by way of anything other than Article 5 of the Constitution. There is no such thing as writing bills or laws through anything other than Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution. And then we said there is no such thing as making treaties except through Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution, which is only supposed to be a very simple process, things such as purchasing of land and agreements for free transport between here and there or what have you. That's treaties, nothing more. They should never have even close to the amount of powers that are granted in Article 1, Section 8. Everything that's in Article 1, Section 8 has to go through both houses through the Article 1, Section 7 process. And if you look at Article 1, Section 7, there's a third clause in there. The importance of that third clause is to make it clear that we don't give our consent to being governed by you guys creating some new terms outside of bills and then trying to pass those off as though they're enforceable. If they are enforceable, they have to be signed by the president, have to go through both houses, they have to go through the normal process. So rulemaking agencies, we never gave our consent to that. Article 1, Section 7, Clause 3 makes it clear we do not give our consent to things outside of Article 1, Section 7, Clause 2. And so people's consent, it's all over the place. It's everything. The controversial, I'm going to go controversial here for a second. The consent was not properly given to 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, or what we call the Reconstruction Amendments. It was forced consent. Forced consent. Ask anybody who deals with law cases regarding, rape, molest, all that kind of stuff. Forced consent is not consent. It just isn't. Just because you force somebody to say, yeah, okay, I'm fine with it, doesn't mean they're actually fine with it, okay? And so the people's consent, all government's powers are justly derived from the people's consent. If it comes from any other means, it is a violation of the people's consent. So if anything is done outside of those 7 P's, the general elections, which is the people's consent, and the forms of amending the Constitution, changing its meaning, we gave our consent to that format only. We gave our consent to the proper purposes of government. We gave our consent to the positions of power, the powers enumerated, the procedures that we required them to go through if they wanted to have our consent in exercising those powers, the promises guaranteed and the powers prohibited. We said, if you're going to be part of our government, you better darn well keep those promises guaranteed, and you better not try to exercise any of these prohibited powers. That is the people's consent. And so I might make a more detailed slideshow, but come on, this is an easy enough one to just make while I'm watching my goats eat brush. So all right, you guys, Merry Christmas.